election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Mayoral candidate being challenged. The saga.
Tiffany Henyard.
Henyard, Tiffany. After a thorough FBI raid that revealed the full scope of her years-long pattern of corruption, misuse of authority, and extravagant spending, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dalton was eventually captured by authorities. She was previously heralded as a potential leader. The fall from grace has been swift and dramatic, with Grace facing 22 federal charges, including financial concealment and misappropriation. Her lavish lifestyle, which was paid for with taxpayer dollars, stood in stark contrast to Dalton's declining financial situation, a town on the verge of bankruptcy. While the mayor showed off her wealth, leaving the community to cope with the implications of her careless expenditures and poor money management when Dalton's economy continued to collapse. Henyard's reign of excess, characterized by extravagant buying, luxury travel, and personal indulgences, came at the expense of the town she was meant to serve. While the locals struggled, Henyard lived as if she were queen, using public funds to support her lavish lifestyle. The FBI's issuance of a series of subpoenas following an extensive investigation, which confirmed long-standing rumors about Henyard's corrupt practices, was the tipping point. Henyard has been convicted of trespassing before, so this is not her first run-in with the law, but the accusations she now faces are much more serious and broad. She faces 22 federal accusations that carry a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison. Although hardworking Dalton residents were struggling to make ends meet, they were unaware that their tax dollars were being siphoned off to fund the mayor's extravagant taste. Instead of using her position to improve the community, Henyard treated the mayor's office as her personal playground, having police officers run errands for her, effectively turning them into a VIP security detail. This is one of the most shocking revelations. Henyard used taxpayer funds to finance personal shopping trips, including a $7,700 spree at Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair on September 1, 2023. The town's $5.6 million surplus was depleted, and a $36 million deficit resulted from Dalton's excessive travel habits, which cost the town an astounding $561,000 for a single driveway project. This money could have been used to address important community needs, but instead it was used to maintain Henyard's image and lifestyle, from hiring professional hair and cosmetics teams to enjoying taxpayer-funded motorcades. Her actions seem to be more focused on her own luxury than on the good of the people. Alienated both locals and municipal employees, many of whom stood by helplessly as the town fell apart under her leadership. Public funds that ought to have gone toward essential services were instead used to finance Henyard's personal preference, causing Dalton's infrastructure and services to deteriorate. The financial mess she created was so severe that it wasn't until a former police chief came forward to expose the full extent of her corruption. The details of her alleged actions show not only egregious mismanagement, but also a flagrant disregard for the people she was elected to serve. Extravagance has now collapsed, and the town is left to pick up the pieces. With Henyard in custody, the people of Dalton are left to deal with the fallout from her actions. Their once thriving community has been left financially ruined, and it is unclear if they will ever fully recover. There is a significant decline in faith in local government, and the scars of Henyard's. As the legal process progresses, Dalton citizens can only hope for justice and accountability, hoping that their community may recover and that such a disastrous leadership failure won't occur again. Time in office may last for years.
The doors are locked here, and there's a sign on the building right now that says it's closed for how long?
Recent revelations regarding Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure in office paint an unsettling picture of a leader consumed by self-interest, financial mismanagement, and blatant abuse of taxpayer funds despite having her credit card privileges revoked. Henyard organized a lavish $555,000 party for the town of Dalton that included high-profile performers like Jay Holiday and Whale. Jay Holiday received $20,000 for his set, and Whale was paid $30,000 for a 30-minute performance. Additionally, Henyard spent $36,000 on a sound system, hired comedians, and even rented bouncy houses, costing $6,600. The event, which was attended by only about 70 people, drew harsh criticism from the community's outspoken members. The public's outrage has been further fueled by members like Jennifer Roberts, who denounced the misappropriation of taxpayer funds, and former trustee Val Stubbs, who described the event as nothing more than a wasteful self-promotion scheme. Federal investigators and concerned taxpayers closely monitor the mayor's every move, but the most significant turn of events occurred when Carmen Carlisle, a former ally and right-hand woman, came forward with damning evidence of her misconduct. For 2 years, Carlisle had a front-row seat to Henyard's alleged misuse of Dalton's fund funds, and she allegedly treated the town's budget as her personal piggy bank. Became the primary whistleblower in the case, handing over a stack of receipts to federal authorities. Her testimony has been shocking, exposing the inner workings of Henyard's financial mismanagement and the bold action she took to further her own interests at the expense of the public. While residents of Dalton deal with the fallout from Henyard's alleged financial fraud and misconduct, the FBI's investigation, fueled by Carlisle's first-hand account, has intensified, and the most recent revelation has cast an even darker light on Henyard's actions while in office. Underscoring her apparent lack of financial responsibility, she proceeded with the lavish party despite having her credit card privileges revoked. As previously mentioned, the event cost $555,000 and featured performances by Whale and Jay Holiday, among other luxuries. The public is shocked by the extravagant spending, especially when compared to the town's dire financial situation. Val Stubbs' description of the event as a self-promotion scheme reflects the general sentiment of those who feel deceived by Henyard's misuse of public funds. The town's budget was supposed to support essential services for the community, but instead was used to fund the mayor's personal taste and lavish. As the investigation progresses, Carmen Carlisle, Henyard's former aide, has emerged as a key player. Her testimony has given investigators vital information about Henyard's spending habits and her apparent disregard for public welfare. According to Carlisle, Henyard was not only misappropriating funds, but also using her position to promote her own career and image. The decision to host such an extravagant event for such a small group of people has highlighted the contrast between Henyard's priorities and the needs of the Dalton residents who have been struggling to maintain basic services. In spite of the mounting criticism and the ongoing FBI investigation, the community's mistrust of Henyard has only grown as more information about her alleged misconduct comes to light. Critics, including former trustee Stubbs, have pointed out the stark contrast between Henyard's extravagant spending and the low attendance at her events, arguing that her actions show a clear financial mismanagement that is made worse in the town's already precarious economy. Henyard's apparent self-promotion and disregard for Dalton's financial well-being have made it harder for the community to trust their leadership. Some people think that this defiance will only make the scandal worse, especially as more details about her financial wrongdoing surface. The FBI's investigation, now strengthened by Caroline's first-hand account and testimony, has placed Henyard squarely in the public eye. Federal agents have concentrated their efforts on exposing the full extent of her misappropriation of public funds, including her extravagant travels, heavy security detail, and dubious business dealings. They are also investigating her charitable endeavors, which, according to reports, may have been more self-promotion than genuine community support. The FBI's involvement marks a significant turning point in the investigation, signaling the agency's intention to. As Henyard's downfall continues to unfold, Dalton residents are forced to grapple with the devastating consequences of her actions. The town has been rocked by the scandal, and many are finding it difficult to understand how their leader could have been so reckless with their money. The FBI's commitment to uncovering every dollar that was misused during Henyard's time in office is a long overdue response to years of calls for transparency and accountability. Activists like Brittany Norwood have long been vocal about the need for a thorough investigation. Compare the situation to a reality TV show in which Henyard portrayed herself as a glamorous, larger-than-life figure while the town's financial reality collapsed beneath her. However, despite the overwhelming evidence and growing public outrage, Henyard has persisted in acting as though nothing has changed, maintaining her image as a self-assured leader, even as federal agents have reportedly been using advanced surveillance techniques to track potential wrongdoing by her and her political allies. The stark contrast between Henyard's public persona and the financial disaster she has caused has left many locals frustrated and perplexed. This has made the situation in Dalton seem more surreal. Henyard continues to maintain her image of business as usual, but the pressure from federal investigators and the public's growing frustration may soon force her to face the reality of her actions when she finally turns herself into the FBI. It sent shockwaves through Dalton. One moment she was going about her daily activities as if nothing had happened, and the next she voluntarily surrendered to federal custody. The town's residents have watched in dismay as their once thriving community has teetered on the brink of financial collapse. Abruptly give up her lavish lifestyle, some speculate that she might be trying to work out a deal with federal prosecutors that would expose other people involved in her alleged schemes in exchange for leniency. Regardless of her reasons, her public image has fallen apart. According to sources, she is unable to pay her legal fees, which caused her lawyer to drop her case. The once flawless image of the super mayor has been shattered, and she now faces the harsh reality of jail life. Her ascent to power, which was fueled by financial mismanagement and a network of influence, seems to have come to a screeching halt as the investigation continues and more information becomes available. Residents of Dalton will have to deal with the significant harm that Henyard's actions have caused to the town's finances, the erosion of public trust, and the betrayal of the community's faith in their elected officials for years to come. Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor of Dalton, Illinois, has been a scandalous period that has left the town reeling under nearly $20 million in debt and millions of dollars unaccounted for as her financial mismanagement and corrupt actions continue to come to light. The town is still dealing with the fallout from her reign, which included everything from an extravagant spending spree to accusations of sexual misconduct and intimidation. The story of Henyard's rise and fall has become a cautionary tale about unbridled power, personal greed, and the far-reaching effects of governmental corruption. From the beginning of her administration, Henyard displayed a level of audacity and control that many Dalton residents found unsettling as the town's finances began to spiral into crisis with debt mounting and funds mysteriously disappearing. She also created a toxic atmosphere that weakened the community's trust in local government. The town's financial crisis was made worse by Henry's blatant disregard for financial prudence. One of the most shocking revelations was that Hannah spent $440,000 in a single day on Amazon, a staggering amount that symbolized her recklessness with taxpayer dollars. This extravagant purchase was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to the wasteful spending under her leadership, and it was one of the many decisions that would eventually draw the attention of federal and state authorities. The Illinois state, the controller had to step in and stop vital payments to Dalton in order to stop further financial hemorrhaging as the town continued to collapse under Henyard's leadership. Desperate for a way forward, residents turned to outside sources, including former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who in a controversial move was hired for $400 per hour to help clean up the mess Henyard had left behind. This unusual and expensive measure highlighted just how dire the situation had become. However, Lightfoot's intervention was insufficient to stop the town's further decline, and by the time Henyard's financial mismanagement came under federal scrutiny, Dalton's finances were in ruins and the town was on the verge of collapsing. The most significant turning point in the scandal occurred when Carmen Carlisle, Henyard's former right-hand woman, turned whistleblower and revealed a stack of receipts and testimony that exposed the mayor's financial mismanagement. The scandal was not limited to financial mismanagement. Allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse of power soon surfaced, further damaging her image. Former employees began to come forward with claims against M Street, including lawsuits alleging wrongful termination for refusing to participate in dubious schemes. Henyard's decision to come forward gave federal investigators vital evidence to start their own investigation into the mayor's actions. This development gave the community hope that justice would finally be served and that her days in power were numbered. However, as more and more accusations against her surfaced, including sexual assault and embezzlement of public funds, Henyard refused to resign, which fueled further suspicions that she was trying to use her position to avoid. Despite the overwhelming evidence against her, Henyard's defiance continued to alienate many residents who saw her continued presence as mayor as a slap in the face to the community she had betrayed. Many speculated that even after her surrender, Henyard may have done so in an attempt to negotiate a reduced sentence or provide information about her political allies in exchange for leniency. The growing crisis reached a boiling point when she voluntarily turned herself in to the FBI. As federal agents dug deeper into Henyard's financial dealings, it became clear that her actions had been far-reaching and destructive. They examined not only her personal finances, but also her business ventures and campaign funding. The community that had once admired Henyard was now left to deal with the aftermath of her corruption and mismanagement. The town of Dalton was left to pick up the pieces. The questions surrounding her motives and actions remained unanswered. In addition to her financial mismanagement, Hen's tenure was also characterized by allegations of sexual impropriety during official visits, including claims of sexual assault against staff members and intimidation tactics aimed at silencing those who dared to oppose her. These allegations painted a disturbing picture of an administration steeped in abuse of power, with Ed using her position to shield herself from accountability as more corruption was exposed, including through her charity work, which revealed layers of corruption that went well beyond the local government. When former employees shared their own accounts of mistreatment, it became evident that Hen's actions had far-reaching effects that went beyond financial corruption. As the FBI continued its investigation, the residents of Dalton found themselves at a crossroads. While some were relieved that Hen was arrested, others were concerned about the town's future and its capacity to recover from the damage she had caused. The community's trust in local government had been destroyed, and the road to recovery would be difficult and drawn out. The town would need to rebuild infrastructure, restore financial stability, and deal with the emotional toll that Hen's actions had taken on its residents. One of the most urgent issues facing the people of Dalton was how to rebuild the town's finances, which had been left in a state of chaos due to years of careless spending, corruption, and poor management. The cost of cleaning up the mess left behind was enormous, and it would take years to undo the financial destruction caused by Hen's actions. Despite the difficulties, there was a glimmer of hope for the future because of the community's strength and resolve to rebuild, which was demonstrated by the way that locals and former employees rallied for justice and accountability. Although Henry's downfall had brought some measure of justice, the town still faced a battle to heal the wounds caused by years of mismanagement and corruption, the financial destruction, and the broken trust. The only way forward was to rebuild the town from the ground up, making sure that transparency, trust, and accountability would be central to the rebuilding process. The hope was that the lessons learned from Henry's time in office would serve as a foundation for a more transparent, ethical, and effective government in the future. The community's collective strength and determination to reclaim their town's future would play a crucial role in charting a new path forward that would prioritize integrity, justice, and accountability. The road ahead would be difficult, but the opportunity to rebuild from the ashes of Henyard's mismanagement represented a chance for true change. The town's ability to heal, rebuild, and grow would depend on its residents' commitment to ensuring that the mistakes of the past were never repeated in the end due to Henyard's actions. Christ serves as a sobering reminder of the perils of unbridled power and the disastrous results of individual greed and misconduct. It is a story of how one person's actions can have a ripple effect on an entire community, leaving long-lasting scars that take